All right, lads and lasses and good day, mates. Welcome to another episode of the Toon podcast. Man City 4, Newcastle United 4-goal. I'm joined by Craig. Look, Craig, I didn't want to really talk about this game because it was so bad. I mean, we're going to talk about it a little bit, but like, I don't want to go into the ins and outs of the goals and stuff because it was so bad. We always get beaten by City at the City ground anyway. So, the result wasn't, when you look back on it, that much of a surprise. I went into this stupidly thinking that we might get a win. There was a general thought going around that this was the best time to, the best time to play City in a long, long time. If we're ever going to get anything out of that game, this was the time to do it with their indifferent season. I can't remember what you predicted, but I think it was a win as well, was it not?
No, it was a loss.
A loss? I thought it was going to be a win. There's 1 or 2 that were on my side of it, another 1 or 2 on your side of it in our group chat. Gotten out of the game, 4-0, absolutely abject performance. Where do we start with this? I mean, we've just beaten Arsenal over the 2 legs in the cup. That performance at St. James's, granted it was at home, but it was night and day compared to this performance today, wasn't it? What do you think? What do you think's going on with the club? Do you think there's anything going on with the club? Do we need to be reading any more into this particular result? We always get beaten by a City, as I said. So, like, we could just go, well, that's what always happens. Shrug your shoulders, move on to the next game. But it was so abject. It was so gutless. There was nothing from us from the first whistle to the end. Do we need to look into this any further, or do you think, is there something going on with us?
No, I think there is too much reading on it where people are saying, it's because we've made the cup final. It's already in people's heads, blah, blah, blah. You got to remember, City, when they're hot, they are extremely hot. And when we're cold, we're like sub-zero. And that's exactly what it was, just 2 ends of the scale there. We were dog shit. They were fantastic. And their new signing, and what a signing he's proven to be already. But that's what 180 million quid's worth of talent will get you in the January window, I suppose. But I just thought we just weren't at the races. We didn't even turn up to the paddock or anything like that. We might as well have stayed on the coach. Probably would have put in a better performance if we had done. But I did say before kickoff, I was a bit nervous on this one because I think City losing midweek to Real Madrid was actually a bad result for us because they're going to be like a wounded animal. They're going to be hurting, and they're going to come out looking for a positive response to carry into the second leg in Madrid in a few days' time or whatever.
Yeah,
and I think that's exactly what happened. They were hurting. They were a wounded animal fighting for survival, and they just literally beat the shit out of us from the very first to the last whistle.
Yeah, I think the general feeling, as I said, was that because they've had such a bad season and because they just lost in midweek to Real, that we could take advantage of that in different series of results and seasons so far for them. But we're not Real Madrid, you know what I mean? So like they only narrowly lost as well. I mean, this is the thing. They narrowly lost. It was 3-2. They were 2-0 up at one point, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, right, they spaffed it up the wall and they ended up losing 3-2. But it's to Real Madrid with the world's craziest talent in that squad. And as you said, they needed to get into this game and get a reaction before they go into the second leg next week. They probably couldn't have asked for a better opposition, could they? Really? Let's be honest. Like,
no, that were record of their place anyway.
I think I'm looking on .com here, and I think it said somewhere in this description that it's 2 points from the last 60. Like, can you think of any other team that they could have hoped to have met in between a narrow defeat to Real and the next game, the decider, to see if they can get the last 16 of the Champions League? I mean, we were just set up to get raped, weren't we?
Honestly, if they were given the option to choose between us and Southampton, I think they'd still choose us.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah. I mean, it's just guaranteed points, isn't it?
It pretty much is. Either or, but yeah, no, we were given a hiding, that's for sure. But I do think, again, is going back to the whole final thing. Maybe that is something that is slowly ringing. But I don't think Eddie's letting it bother him anywhere near as much now, because he's already come out and said he's not letting them anywhere near as much media work than they did in the build up of the last cup final. So it's not going to be constantly on their minds or anything. But it will be in the back of their heads.
I was going to say, you cannot stop that from being the case. You can't. Eddie Howe can't just go to them, lads, didn't think about it, and then go, job done, because it's not going to work like that, is it?
No, it's not. But they've already said that they're going to try and learn from the mistakes to try and better the result. And yes, it's City away as well. I think the last time we won there, and I don't even think it was the Etihad, I think it was back at their main road when Shearer got the winner. That tells you how long ago that record goes back, and he retired back in 2006, which is absolutely crazy statistic when you think about it. But I do think also the back line being a little bit hampered as well. Obviously, no Botman. He's taken a knock to his knee. And Dan Burn obviously went off in the game against Birmingham. So he has reacted well to the recovery, but he didn't look sharp. He didn't look fresh. He didn't look fit or anything. It looked like he was still playing with a knock, and he couldn't quite do what he's been doing for the majority of the season, where he's probably been our best defender. He looked far from it in this game. I know Shaw was well off the pace. Trips, fuck knows what he was doing for that first goal.
Jesus.
Aye.
Honestly.
And Hall had a relatively poor game, considering he's had a fairly consistent season as well. But that whole back line just wasn't on par with each other today. And also Dubs, it said it's the curse of the new contract. Every time
he hasn't got a new contract.
Gets a new contract. Well, it's borderline, isn't it? He's very close to signing. Every time one of our players gets a new contract, they either get injured or they turn out to go into dog shit form. It's just, we've got the curse of the Etihad, then we've got the curse of the new contract with us. It's just our bloody luck.
I think it goes further than that as well. I think it's like every time there's a chance to go top 4, top 3, or move up into those kind of really good positions in the league. Every time there's a chance to we just need a performance, lads, and we're going to be in a really strong position at the end of it. We just shit ourselves and fold it. It's like I don't know if we can't handle the pressure, or if we take an eye off the ball and start thinking too far ahead, or I don't know. I mean, let's look at this game anyway. I mean, nobody who's listening to this is going to sit there and go, God, I can't wait for these guys to break down this game. Nobody's going to want to break down this game because there's fucking no in it from Newcastle's perspective. There was a shot from Miley second half, and I might as well just end the stream now, because that was literally it. There was nothing else I can think of. Isaac had nout the whole game, absolutely nothing going on. The biggest thing that annoys me, and kind of gone off on a tangent here already, but anyway, Edison in goal, he's been dodgy as this season. Like, I think we showed in the game when we played him last time that if you stick a man on him, you can force him into mistakes quite easy. And in the first half in particular, and I'll be honest, I turned the bugger off at half time. I was like, there's no way. It's 1:30 in the morning. I'm going to sit here and watch another 45 minutes of that crap. I'm not going to wait 15 minutes for the halftime show. I'm not going to watch another 45 minutes of this, and I'm going to wake up next day being absolutely knackered, and we'll still have lost. You know what I mean? So I was like, balls to this, I'm going to bed. But in that first half, we got nowhere near Edison. It felt like every time, and it was rare, that we got across the halfway into their final third, their defenders just went, nah, shut the door, and they just completely blocked us off. It was madness. But the teams, anyway, Dubravka, Trips, Charles Burn, Hall, Bruno, Tony, Willock, Murphy, Isaac, and Gordon. So the only real change there was Willock in for Big Joe. Do you reckon we missed Big Joe today? Do you think it would have made any difference with him in?
Aye, it's you try to put Willock in there, Big Joel's drawn, and it's square pegs round holes, isn't it? He just does not have the physicality to get in the faces to try and disrupt and upset the opposition. There's not many players in the league that can do the role that he does, and we are hurting badly without him. Willock obviously had a good game against Birmingham, but they're a team from the lower league, so you would expect them to have a decent game against them. But we missed Big Joe so bad in this game. He might not have made much of a difference, but if he had been there, he would have thrown his weight around and he would have been angry. And you don't poke an angry bear because he's going to then kick 7 shades of shit out of you. And the quicker he gets back, the better. Hopefully he's back sooner rather than later, because he's going to be a massive miss, especially with that Forest game coming up. They've got some canny-sized midfielders in there who like to throw their weight around as well. Gibbs White being one of them. So if we can get them back for that, be a good test. But I sorely missed.
So Trips starting was probably a good call in the sense that he had a decent game last time out. Certainly against Arsenal, he was absolutely brilliant. So that kind of makes sense. But he didn't come out in the second half. Did we get any information as to why that was? Tino came out instead?
There was note from the commentators, and I think it was just a tactical change from Eddie's point of view, which you had to do something because, you're 3-0 down at half time.
Well, yeah. God, this game, man. It's bloody awful. Gordon obviously coming back. There was a little question mark around him, but he did train in the week.
Aye.
I'm going by what I saw in the first half, and honestly, I don't remember any of these blokes doing anything of note. Like it was. I wonder if the formation was wrong from the start. Like you've never won. You've won 2 points in 60 going at this ground.
Yeah.
We played against Arsenal with 5 at the back. Why didn't he go to this one in 5 at the back?
That's what I was thinking. I know obviously there was no Botman because he was injured, but maybe you could have brought in Kraft, and he could have slotted in between Shaw and Trips to make it that back 5. And he's a commendable player when he does a decent job. And in a back 5, I'm pretty sure he could, Emil Kraft. But I don't know why they didn't bother doing that. It obviously worked against Arsenal. And Arsenal just dry humped Man City the other week 5-1. So, if we could give an opportunity, that would have been it, to go 5 at the back and just do what we've done to Arsenal, like I said.
But we went into this game and we just left space absolutely everywhere. I mean, the first goal, God almighty. So Edison kind of just walks out of his area. There's no pressure on him at all. Nobody's closing him down. He's just walking out of his area and he just launches it long. And for whatever reason, Trippier's there by himself dealing with Marmoush. Do you think he just completely got the flight of the ball wrong there? Because he jumps for it.
I don't know why he's the furthest defender back.
He's nowhere near it when he leaps for it, though. I mean, anybody taller than Trips would have got the head to that, and it wouldn't have been a goal. Anybody.
Yeah.
And I understand.
That's why I don't understand he was the furthest man back. You put Burn, one thing, Burn isn't the quickest, so the further back he is, the better. And maybe even Shaw as well. Burn's clearly going to win that header, you'd think. And then the ball either trickles to Dubs, or we get possession, or it's hoofed upfield. They retain possession, but critically, it isn't 1-0.
But I understand that we usually like to push up the centre backs and whatnot. We usually send up the tolls. We get the Shaws in there to try and do a blammo. We'll get Burn in there to try and get a header when it's in the mix. So I can understand it from that perspective, but I'm just more interested in how Trips managed to get absolutely nowhere near that ball, because it's in the air for a while. It's coming down. He's watching it. He's got a Marmoush with him, obviously, and then he just leaps like he's as if he's just realized he's nowhere. He's not. The ball isn't going where he's expecting it to.
Yeah.
And he misses it completely, and Marmoush just turns around, and then we might as well talk about this as well. He runs into acres of space. There's nobody else there, and he just chips it over the top of Dubravka. Now, could Dubravka have done better there as well?
He's obviously anticipating that Trips is going to get some type of connection on the ball. This is also where we've been talking about Dubs not being a very effective sweeper keeper. Mm-hmm. If he's further forward towards the edge of his box, maybe closes the angle down. Maybe he's got to take it around Dubravka rather than just chipping it over the top of him, because as you said, there's acres of space between Marmoush and Dubravka and myself. I don't know. I put Trips solely to blame for that goal, but I do think Dubravka could have reacted a little bit. But you see him run forwards, thinking, shit, something's gone wrong here. Then you realise, hold on, I'm near the edge of my box. This is unknown territory for me. And he then takes 10 steps further back. Which, I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing that for? At least keep the angle, narrow the angle down, so you've got an opportunity to get something on it. You've just literally give him an open goal.
But you think about a bell curve. It's like he positioned himself exactly in the middle of the bell curve where the ball is at its, most optimal position for the ball to go over the top of him. It was bloody horrendous. And you have to say, though, up to that point, we had done now I mean, we did not in this whole game, really, but I mean, it was all Man City. We were trying to close them down. They were just going, whatever, pass it around us, pass it through the middle. Sometimes the space in the middle was insane. Like the gaps we were leaving all over the place. We were like, it was like we were just like pushing too far up, like bloody Tottenham Hotspur or something, and just forgetting that there was also a chance that they might just go around us or through us, over the top of us, into massive space behind us. God, honestly. So that was 1-0. That was, what, 19 minutes? 24 minutes, he gets his second goal, basically a tap in. 33 minutes, he's another tap in. And that's a hat-trick in the space of 10 minutes, or whatever it was, 14 minutes.
40 minutes, aye.
He'll never get an easier hat-trick, because those goals he didn't have to do anything for. Like, I can't remember which one it was, but the one where, not the one where Haaland heads it on, but the one where he just has to kind of check his run into the box. There's like nobody around him. It's like part of like the Red Seas, and he's just got to tap it into the net. It was just so bad.
The one goal for me, which made me realise that we need Pope back in the nets, is a third one. The ball is going straight for Dubravka. There is a camera angle which shows you straight down the face of the goal. He takes a shot, and Dubravka's like this, and he goes like that. He moves to the side. The ball's coming straight for him. There's no swerve on the ball. There's no spin on the ball. And he moves out the fucking way. I mean, what the hell are you doing? It's like your primary job is to stop the ball from going in the back of the net. And you moved out the way to concede the third and ultimately kill a goal. 2-0, you maybe got a chance. 3-0, it's curtains, obviously, especially at that place. But the third goal was just absolutely shambolic in terms of goalkeeping. Pope needs to get back in the sticks for the Forest game.
Well, I mean, I think Eddie's been waiting for a moment to say to Dubs, all right, well, look, that was a terrible performance. I'm going to now sub you out, and I'm going to bring in Pope. Do you think this will be it?
Absolutely. It has to be. I mean, Dubravka's confidence has got to be shot from that, because he had an absolute stinker. Yes, he made one or two decent saves, but they were from tame shots, or there just wasn't any power, whatever that may have been. But at the end of the day, he didn't do anything to cover himself in glory. Even when we got a smash off Bournemouth 4-1, he still made some cracking saves, which stopped us from going 5, 6, 7, 1 down effectively. We didn't do any of that in this game. No glory whatsoever. I would gladly and happily see Nick Pope back between the sticks for the next game and for the foreseeable.
I suspect that'll be the case, at least for the next game anyway. Because I do think Eddie's tried to stick to that mantra of, you've got to earn your spot. And to be fair, Dubravka has done well. But I do wonder if Eddie will just say, right, this is my chance to get Pope back in. Because at the end of the day, I think he prefers Pope to Dubravka for that sweeper kind of ability. I mean, Pope's got a brain fart him in as well. But I think on the whole, he's the better keeper than Dubravka. But having said that, Dubravka's done smashing since he came in, so I'm not going to go too hard on him.
He has. I'll give him that one. He's kept us in games. He's won us games as well. But I think he's just shown now he's literally at the top of the curve where his form is just starting to dip. And I think now is the right time to make the call.
Mm-hmm. All right. So he's at the apex. He's about to go and get worse. So we need to swap him out for Pope. And if anything else, I mean, you give some game time to Pope before the final. It's not a bad idea. You don't want to bring him in just for that game fresh without having actually got his gloves dirty beforehand. So we've already said Tino came on in the second half for Trips. Miley came on as well for Willock. What do they make of him?
Willock or Miley?
Miley. Yeah, forget Willock. Jesus.
He actually carried the ball forward. He got some decent tackles in there. He actually looked like he gave a shit, because one or two of those players didn't. I think it was the third goal, and it shows you a review from behind the goal, and Bruno's reaction was just, get away. And as if he just he's given in, he's thrown in the towel, which, to be honest, we did at that point. But that's not the reaction you want, especially from your captain either. But when Miley came on, a bit of forward play, a few decent spells of passing, kept it long, kept it short, tried to mix things up, and ultimately had our only shot on goal. Which could you've done much better with it? Maybe, maybe not. But either way, a shot on goal is better than having nothing on goal, which is exactly how it looked like it was going to pan out for the rest of that half.
Yeah, right. It was a nice move as well, actually, to get him into that position to take that shot. It's a shame he just kicked it straight at bloody Edison, who that was probably his only thing he had to do all frigging game. They go and get the fourth. McAtee gets it, another tap in on the 86th minute. I'm kind of surprised they hadn't scored up until that point, to be honest. But I mean, they didn't have to do anything. It was already 3-0. They just went, right, let's stick this into like neutral, and we'll just kind of rev it for a little bit, save ourselves for the next game against Real. So I want to come back to this thought of the cup final. Ideally for us, we need to have a bit of momentum going into that game. Now, obviously, this is City. This is always going to be a difficult game for us, as we've already discussed. The next games we got are Forest at home, Liverpool away in the kind of dress rehearsal. Then we've got Brighton at home for the FA Cup, 5th round. Then we've got West Ham away, and then we've got the League Cup final at Wembley. So they're not easy fixtures, those. I mean, West Ham aren't the best right now, but Brighton picked up a 3-0 against Chelsea. Liverpool's Liverpool. But there again, Liverpool showed against Everton that if you mix it up with them and get in the faces, you've got a chance to do something there. And we kind of already know that from the 3-3 anyway. But we want to have... Do you agree that we want to have some momentum getting into this Wembley game? I mean, I don't want us to go into Wembley game on the back of 5 defeats following this, so 6 defeats effectively after the City game, hoping that we'll... Wait a minute, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, 5 defeats. That's right. I don't want to be back with 5 defeats going into this Wembley game. I think we need to have some confidence, some belief that we can play it. I was actually starting to think that we'd probably beat Liverpool at the Wembley, but then I watched us play against City like that in a no pressure kind of game, and I wonder, like, are we just going to get rolled over again?
I'm literally between a rock and a hard place between how we are going to play at Wembley. If we play like we did against Man United, we will get our asses handed to us again. This Liverpool squad are a far superior team to that Man United team 2 years ago, whenever it was.
2 years ago, yeah, right.
But if we can get something against Forest, and we have to beat Forest, I don't think a draw is good enough. Then who we got after Forest? Sorry,
Liverpool away.
Liverpool away. I'm going to go for the traditional loss of that one, just purely because it's Anfield. And I think my record there is almost as bad as it is at the Etihad. And then West Ham and Brighton, is it?
Brighton, then West Ham. Yeah, Brighton's the FA Cup.
So the FA Cup game, and cup games are always a good breakaway from the league because there's a little bit more riding on it. You've got to do it all within that 90 minutes and so on. And we owe Brighton one as well from that shit show from later on the season when Danny Welbeck got the winner. And then also we owe West Ham one as well, because they came to our place and literally kicked the back door and then walked away with a 2-0 win.
Yeah.
So we've got a little bit of revenge on the hands, and hopefully we can use that as momentum to get a bit of momentum going into the cup final and put a few wins under the belt,
Do you agree though that we want to be going into that final with a bit of momentum, bit of belief from a series of wins? I mean, that game against Liverpool away, and you'll say we have to beat Forest. I know that's for the kind of the league positions in Europe and what have you, but that Liverpool away game, I think, is going to be really, really interesting. It's going to be quite telling as well. I mean, it's going to be all kinds of things going on about that game. Like, for example, we might go to Liverpool and play a certain way, and we might get a result out of it. But then we might wonder, have we just kind of exposed how we might play against this team before we go into the final? Or we could go to Liverpool and play absolute dog shit, lose, get nothing out of that game, but then go into the final and play a completely different way. I mean, Liverpool have their own European Champions League fixtures to deal with as well. Might they? I can't remember. Do they have UCL sandwich in that game? I feel like they might have a game around there. I forget.
There is some fixtures. I don't think the dates and the draws been set for who they will play. So I think it might even be balanced on who the competition is. If it's a top end team, then maybe they will rest one or two for the final. Who knows? But I don't think Slot's going to take this lightly and play the kids as he's done in previous rounds. It'll be his first trophy, and he'll want to get his first trophy under the belt. And he's still on for the treble, albeit they got knocked out of the FA Cup now. So they will go hard and fast for this one. but they will have their mind elsewhere. And hopefully our mind is 100% focused on the cup.
God, I mean, we could have done with some easier fixtures in the lead up to this. I have to be honest. So you reckon we need to beat Forest next week? So we've got a week to kind of lick our wounds, as I say, before we play Forest next week. And Forest are obviously flying at the minute.
If we didn't beat Forest and they beat us, there's a 9-point gap between.
They've just got beaten by Fulham, haven't they?
Either got beat by Fulham. So a few results did go kind of in our favour because Villa dropped points at home to 10-men Ipswich. So it wasn't an overall major disaster this weekend. It could have been a lot worse. But if Forest beat us, there's a 9-point gap between us and them. And that 9-point gap is quite a gulf to make, albeit again, there's still a significant number of games to play. But if we can beat them, it then goes to a 3-point gap. So the swing on how this could be absolutely huge for this Forest game. And I do think the way we beat them earlier on the season, before we then went to Brentford, I think, got humiliated, we can put them under pressure. Anderson gets his return to St. James's Park. So that's going to be an interesting one. You guarantee he's going to score, can't you? He's going to score a 25-yard curler on the top corner on the 93rd minute, send us home in tears, and he's going to shush the Gallagher end. Nah, he won't do that, will he? I reckon he'd be very subdued in his celebration. But our Forest game is huge, and we need to have a reaction. And what we say this after a defeat, we need a reaction from the following game. And there's no better reaction than to get one over Forest because they're flying, and we need to keep that gap to a minimal as it is, and getting it to 3 points, especially playing Liverpool in the league the following week. We do not want that gap to extend any further.
It's pretty useful that it's a home game as well. So I wouldn't have wanted that to be an away game after the City one, actually. Do you want to pick a man of the match? Mamouche.
I've gone Mamouche. No one deserved it. They're all absolutely terrible. But one thing I am going to touch on, and this is something that is just getting worse and worse now. Yes, that was a terrible performance. Yes, it was one of the worst performances we've had in a long time. A loss is very painful to take, whether it be a narrow loss or whether we get absolutely smashed, just like what we did on there. But the reaction on social media from fans, and I do that in inverted commas because they're not real fans, in my opinion, the way they've reacted to this loss compared to the win against Arsenal is literally being black and white. You've had people pretty much giving death threats to players. You've had there's one bloke calling Eddie retarded, calling him a spastic, and he needs to go. He needs to be sacked. People tagging players in, giving them verbal abuse, everything like that. Saying the club needs to be folded, massive clear out. Every player has got a price on the head. They can all fuck off. It's getting worse and worse with every defeat we get. It needs to calm the fuck down and remember that as a football club, we stick together when we win, but we also stick together even more when we lose. We have to do that, or else we will just falter away the season. The players will see this reaction on social media, whether it be Instagram, Twitter, whatever it will be. If we're telling these players, fuck off, go play your football somewhere else because you're not wanted or you're shit, that's instantly going to think, you know what? I think I will. If Isak or Bruno is getting tagged and stuff like that, when you know what? I'm sick of this abuse. I'll go somewhere else where they might appreciate me that little bit more, even if we do have a bad game. It's starting to proper piss me off to the point where I was this close to literally closing down my Twitter account last night just because of the vile abuse that everybody was getting, all the players, the staff, everybody about it. And it's just not on anymore. It needs to stop. And we can have bad games, we can have good games, but we must stick together every single one of those, regardless of the result. We have been through thick and thin as a club. We've been through absolute dog shit through the Ashley era. We have got it so good right now that fans seem to forget that where we were 3.5 to 5 years ago. We were on the cusp of getting relegated. That game against Wolves was one of the darkest days in the club history. And now we've been in a cup final. We're in another cup final. We've had glorious days like we did against PSG in the Champions League. We're into the last 16 of the FA Cup. Give the lads a break. We have bad days, but best of all, we celebrate the good days, but we do it all together, not as a divided fan base, and it fucking stinks right now.
Well said. And it's not just us, of course. There's other clubs sending out death threats and what have you. I think, to be honest with you, this has got as much to do about society in general, social media in particular, as anything else. And you don't know who these people are. You don't even know if they are fans. You don't know if these are people who just had a bet on for a certain result and want to stir trouble because they didn't get the money come in. There's any number of reasons why people might react in certain ways, but I would actually echo what you said there. It's just from a basic human level, it's just disgusting and it's completely unnecessary. For God's sake, it's just a game of football at the end of the day. I know people take it seriously, and I know we all want success and we're all dying for that first bit of silverware. But come on, man, use your brain cells, man. You don't talk to people like that.
No.
You know, if you think you're doing the club a favor by going on like that, you're completely wrong. So clamp it up and support the lads as much as you can.
Absolutely.
All right, Craig. I want to bury this game in the back of my memory and never have to think about it again. And the thing is, of course, if we go and beat Forest, it'll be hunky-dory again. If we go to Liverpool and get something out of that, we'll be on our feet thinking we're going to win at Wembley. You know, and that's how it goes. You know, you have one bad result, it doesn't mean it's going to be a bad season. We're having a pretty decent season, all things considered. And you know, if we get a chance to spend some frigging money for once, if we're allowed to, you know, please, sir, then who knows what the future might hold for us. But I think we'll leave it there. I just want to forget this game. It was so shit. And let's hope that we do a bit better against Forest at home. At least we're at home. The fans won't sort of. I don't think the fans will put up that kind of performance. I'll expect the fans to get up and give the lads a boost, and we'll see what that means for us in that game. Anyway, we'll leave it there, Craigie. No point getting on about this anymore. Cheers for joining us. Thanks to everybody who's watching and listens. Give us a like and a subscribe, and we will see you for the next one. Cheers.
Cheers, lads.